Hey guys, welcome back to Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Justice for All. In the last part, we learned that Maya's costume had a bullet hole in it, and we disproved this last part of Gumshoe's testimony that says the defendant attacked and killed a person who, without a doubt, was not fighting back. Because if he had not been fighting back, there would be no bullet hole. So let's present it. Objection! Detective Dick Gumshoe. Yes? Having you call me by my full name is kind of a weird feeling. You said that my client killed a person who, without a doubt, was not fighting back. Yeah, I did. Then what, may I ask, is the bullet hole you police overlook supposed to mean? What does it mean? It means you're clueless, that's for sure. I'll tell you what it means. It means that the victim had fired off a shot. Is this what it means to not fight back? You're right. It would seem that way. If the victim tried to shoot the defendant, then it would change everything. Alright, the wind seems to be shifting. What is with that "are you finished yet" laugh? Are you finished yet, Mr. Phoenix Wright? Miss Von Karma? It seems that Mayafe was shot at by the victim. However, that is only grounds enough to support a justified self-defense plea. That is correct. But I'm sure you remember, Your Honor, what the defense clearly said. They rejected justified self-defense and pleaded not guilty. Now that you... Why, that's right. Which means the defense has yet to prove anything at all. No! Well, yes, that's true. Great. So, furthermore, just the fact that there is a bullet hole in the costume is not even enough to substantiate even a plea of justified self-defense. Huh? How so? Ah! Don't just stand there. Hurry up and tell the court what transpired that day. With the new information we acquired added in, of course. Huh? You mean by myself? You want me to put together the scenario all by myself? Ah! And she just not, like... Ugh, don't question Von Karma, jeez. Yes, sir, right away, sir. Jeez, Von Karma sucks. Alright, witness testimony. What transpired? During the channeling, the defendant saw her chance to stab the victim in the chest. Of course, the victim used the last of his strength to fight back, sir. While the two were fighting, the victim took out his gun. The victim took a shot, but missed because they were too close. Or because they were too close, he missed. The defendant then picked it up on the opening, took the victim's gun, and ended it. Okay. This scenario you've put together does make sense. Yes, sir. Well, Mr. Wright, just by listening, it does make sense. However, I won't give up that easily. Please refrain from glaring at me like that. Now then, your cross-examination, please. Alright, we will cross-examine him on what transpired. This is such an awesome game. Alright. During the channeling, the defendant saw her chance to stab the victim in the chest. Of course, the victim used the last of his strength to fight back, sir. Let's try this. So he was stabbed, but the stab wound didn't kill him. But if you think about the blood loss, it was pretty bad. How bad would you say it was? Actually, I went to give blood the other day, and afterward I felt a little lightheaded and dizzy. I guess the damage was maybe about 10 times the dizziness. Ah! Sorry. Jeez, what's her problem? He was just talking. Jeez. While the two were fighting, the victim took out his gun. The victim took a shot, but because they were too close, he missed. That doesn't really make too much sense. Considering if he was close, he would have had a much easier shot. And also, there are no... When you can see the costume, there are no gunpowder burns, so that disproves that right now. Let's present it. Boom. Objection. Missing the tiny hole on this costume will be the prosecution's undoing. Huh? What do you mean? Look, see, there's no gunpowder burns. If it was point blank, we'd see gunpowder burns. This little hole has actually created a huge hole in your testimony. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. You said the two of them were fighting when the victim fired his gun at point blank. If that were true, then where is the gunpowder burn on this costume? Gunpowder burn? Yeah, you just explained it a little while ago. Are you really that stupid? This is what you testified earlier. When something is shot from point blank, a burn area is left around the bullet hole. Oh! but there is not a single trace of gunpowder burn on this costume. Bum, bum, bum. We have found actually a big flaw. That's a very good point. And what exactly does this mean? It means that when the shot was fired, they were standing apart from each other. Objection! I'm disappointed, Mr. Phoenix Wright. You think you can punch a hole in my logic with that? Why, with wishy-washy thinking like that, anyone can explain anything away. Then I implore you to disprove my line of thinking. Let's see. In the middle of their fight, the victim pushed the defendant away, and it was then, when they were separated, that he fired. How was that? Objection! Wrong-o. As if that was even possible. According to testimony, the wound from the stabbing was very severe. The victim would not have had the strength to push the defendant very far after that. Well, then... That's right, the defendant must have pushed the victim away. After stabbing him, she must have put some space between the doctor and herself. And then while she was preparing to strike again, the doctor took his shot. There, that should satisfy even you. It does make an awful lot of sense. What do you think, Mr. Wright? I must be careful. I can't afford to make a mistake here. Concentrate and think. Something doesn't make sense. There's a fatal flaw in her argument, Your Honor. Fatal flaw? Yow! Very interesting. I would love to see what this flaw is. Show me something that contradicts my explanation. There has to be a snag in her explanation somewhere. She put some distance between them before rushing to make the final blow. And when she was about to strike, the doctor took his shot. There must be a piece of evidence that contradicts this line of thinking. Well, let's see here. Our line of thinking was that she wasn't preparing to strike, and yet she was still, on the ground. Maya's costume probably won't help here because, you know, it just shows that she was shot at. The knife, the pistol won't do anything. The knife can't do anything. The autopsy, no. Let's check the folding screen. About 8 inches off the ground is a small hole that looks like a bullet hole. 8 inches. That disproves it right there. Boom. Take that. This is the piece of evidence that destroys your logic. What is that? A folding screen? I would like to point the court's attention to the hole in this folding screen. Why is hole always like... Whatever. Ah! It looks like you already know what I'm talking about. Who, where, what? Mr. Wright, your explanation, please. These two really that clueless. The bullet hole went through the defendant's sleeve first, then the folding screen. It passed through at a height of approximately 8 inches off the ground, which means... When the shot was fired, the defendant, was not getting ready to strike, but was actually squatting low to the ground. Bum, bum, bum. Von Karma, eat it! Order, order! This changes everything. Please look at this diagram of the crime scene. The victim, Dr. Gray, was here when he fired the shot, and the bullet hit the folding screen. It hit it at this location, about 8 inches off the ground. At this time, the defendant was in this area. Now, this is a part where well, let's see here. She couldn't have been here, because she couldn't have been around in this area, because, there's no gunpowder burn. And let's see, she was probably around over here. Take that! Boom. No gunpowder burn, so she must have been there, near the folding screen. Wait a second. We know the defendant was close to the ground based on the height of the bullet hole, but how can you gauge the distance from that? Isn't it possible that the defendant was standing much closer to the victim? That's impossible. But why? You, of all people, should know the answer to that question, Miss Von Karma. If she was shot somewhere closer, there would be gunpowder burns present. However, there is nothing of the sort around the bullet hole of this costume. Ah! Curse you, Mr. Phoenix Wright, you! I believe it has now been proven that the defendant was standing away from the victim when she was shot at. But do you think this has changed the defendant's situation? It changes everything. Come on now. Honestly, Your Honor, this changes everything. The prosecution has claimed the defendant was aiming to kill by stabbing. If that were true, delivering the final strike with the knife would be ideal. However, where and what was the defendant doing at the time? Squatting all the way by the folding screen? Exactly. If Maya Fey was the real murderer, why would she be by the folding screen instead of preparing to strike? Upon further consideration, it does make very little sense. Yeah, I figured there had to be a reason. I love Gumshoe trying to act smart. Figuring these things out and proving the logic behind everything is your job. Oof. Alright, with this, the rest of the trial should be in the blast radius of disaster. I love that line. That's awesome. You're such a smart man, Mr. Phoenix, Wright? To think that you've been able to take a completely hopeless case to this point. Now I know why Papa had such a tough time with you. You amuse me. Ugh, all the things to inherit. Why did I have to be that smarmy smile? Detective! How dare you damage my perfect logic? Huh? How is it all my fault? You can start repairing your standing by removing the 3-stand goatee. Oh, and rest assured, your punishment will come later. Who are you, Beldam? Punishment? What? Alright, well, in the next part, we're gonna keep going. Sorry for the abrupt end here. Sorry. Anyway, see ya.